Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is considering restrictions to the UK's post-study visa, which allows graduates to study on and work for up to 2 years for their degree course as part of efforts to curb soaring legal migration figure despite strong opposition from some of his ministers, a report said Sunday. According to the Observer newspaper, Sunak is facing a cabinet revolt over plans to scrap the graduate route scheme, the definitive factor for choosing UK universities among Indian students who have topped the tally for these post-study visas since it was launched in 2021. Downing Street is said to be considering further restricting or even ending the route, despite the Independent Migration Advisory Committee declaring it was not being abused and that it should continue as it helps UK universities make up for financial losses on the domestic front. Sunak is now finding himself caught between the demands of right-wingers with one eye on the Tory leadership and conservative moderate who fear the consequences of a lurch to the right on the party's reputation and election chances, says the newspaper, quoting sources close to ministers who oppose scrapping the visa. Sunak's Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, Chancellor Jeremy Hunt and Foreign Secretary David Cameron are among those in the cabinet and to be leading a revolt over the issue. It comes as university and business chiefs have warned that any curtailment of the post-study offer would make the UK less attractive to overseas students, including Indians. Russian strikes killed at least 10 people, including a pregnant woman, and injured 25 others in two separate attacks in Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region on Sunday, local officials said. It was the latest in what have been constant attacks in recent weeks on Kharkiv city and the region of the same name by Russian missiles and guided bombs, as Russian troops have launched an offensive in the northeast of the region. The first strike on Sunday killed 5 and wounded 16 in a recreation area just outside Kharkiv, while another 5 people were killed and 9 injured later in the day in the 2 villages in this district. Governor this said Russian forces shelled 2 villages with a self-propelled multiple rocket launcher. An Israeli airstrike killed 27 people in central Gaza, mostly women and children, and fighting with Hamas raised across the north and on Sunday as Israel's leaders aired divisions over who should govern Gaza after the war, now in its 8th month. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faced criticism from the 2 other members of his war cabinet, with his main political rival Benny Gantz threatening to leave the government if a plan is not created by June 8 that includes an international administration for post-war Gaza. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan Sunday met Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders to discuss an ambitious US plan for Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel and help the Palestinian Authority to govern Gaza in exchange for a path to statehood. Netanyahu has rejected those proposals, saying Israel will keep open-end security control over Gaza and partner with local Palestinians unaffiliated with Hamas or the Western-backed Palestinian Authority. Ultimatum expressed support for normalizing ties with Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries, but he also said we will not allow any outside power, friendly or hostile, to impose a Palestinian state. The airstrike in refugee camp in central Gaza killed 27 people, including 10 women and 7 children, according to records at Al-Qasa Matias hospital in nearby, which received the bodies. A separate strike on a street killed 5 people, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent Emergency Service in this. US President Joe Biden delivered the commencement address at Morehouse College on Sunday, receiving applause and cheers, but also spurring some students to turn their back to Biden as his backing of Israel in its war with Hamas riles college graduations across the country. Biden's address at Morehouse College, a historically black men's college in Atlanta whose alumni include civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr., is part of an election year platform to repair bonds with young black men and address the anger over his position on Israel. It's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I have called for an immediate ceasefire. Biden said to applause. I know it angers and frustrates us, many of you, including in my family. He said. Biden was largely uninterrupted by protests that have shut down graduations elsewhere. Biden's speech came at a time campaign officials have flagged signs of diminished enthusiasm of him among younger black men. A helicopter carrying Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and the country's foreign minister and other officials apparently crashed in the mountainous northwest reaches of Iran on Sunday, sparking a massive rescue operation in a fog-shrouded forest as the public was urged to pray. The likely crash came as Iran under Raisi and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali this launched an unprecedented drone and missile attack on Israel last month. At Yash Dayal's home in Prayagraj, no one was watching Saturday's crucial RCB vs CSK tie, the do-or-die game between IPL's two most popular sides. Since last year, the family had been worried of turning into IPL's high-pressure matches involving their son, the 26-year-old RCB pacer who mostly gets to bowl in the all-important final over. Back in 23, KKR's Rinku Singh has hit Yash for 5 successive sixes. The thrashing would give him and his family a lifelong trauma. Yash would be the target of trolls and meme makers. All that changed on Saturday. Several years ago, as a student at Pune's Film and Television Institute of India (FTII), Payal Kapadia, 38, started scripting the initial drafts of All We Imagine as Light as her diploma project. At that time, my grandmother had a big fall and normally Fisty Lady was bound to her bed. She hired a nurse to help her in his difficult state as she lived alone, except when I stayed with her. Spending time with them, I got interested in those women who come from different states to Mumbai to work, says Kapadia. The lives of such caregivers showed the seeds of the story, which is now set to premiere at the 77th Annual Cannes Film Festival in its much-feted competition section on May 23. It is the first film to feature in the festival's main segment in 30 years. Speaking to the Indian Express ahead of her debut features premiere, the Mumbai-based writer-director who graduated from FTII in 18 recounted how she kept revisiting the script over the years, talking it to writing residencies and further working on the characters as I collected. Okay. As the BJP and opposition parties sharpen their campaign rhetoric with Prime Minister Modi bringing the Ram Temple repeatedly into focus and the India bloc parties keeping the constitution and reservation as the main talking points. 49 constituencies across 8 states and union territories will vote in the 5th phase of the Lok Sabha elections on Monday. As many as 35 assembly constituencies of Odisha are also going to polls in the phase. The stakes are significant for the BJP and its allies in the phase, which has the least number of constituencies going to vote. Of the 49 seats, the BJP alone had won 32 in the 19 Lok Sabha elections. The undivided Shiv Sena, which was with the BJP then, had won 7 and the JDU and LJP 1 each. So the then NDA had won 41 of these 49 seats. Targeting West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee for claiming that some members of Bharat Sevashram Sangh and Ramakrishna Mission were helping the BJP in the elections, Prime Minister Modi said Sunday that TMC had crossed all limits this time. He said the Chief Minister was openly threatening the two socio-religious organizations to appease the TMC's vote bank. Speaking at an election meeting in West Bengal's Purulia, where he shared the stage with Bharat Sevashram Sangh monk Swami Nitya Sudhananda, among others, Modi said, चुनाव में बंगाल के लोगों को डराने धमकाने this and this. The TMC government, which has been threatening and appeasing violence in the people of Bengal during the election, has crossed all these limits. Delhi Chief Minister and AAP convener Arvind Kejriwal on Sunday accused Prime Minister Modi of launching Operation Jhadu to crush his party by arresting its leaders, seizing bank accounts and evicting the party from its headquarters. Iran has also faced years of mass protests against its theocracy over an ailing economy and women's rights, making the movement that much more sensitive for Tehran and the future of the country as the Israel-Hamas war inflames the wider Middle East. Delhi's Najafgarh recorded a temperature of 47.8 degrees Celsius on Sunday as a severe heat wave persisted in northwest India for the second day in a row. According to India Meteorological Department officials, this was the highest temperature recorded in the country this year, followed by 47.7 degrees Celsius in Agra. To be sure, Najafgarh has an automatic weather station, unlike Delhi's base observatory at Safdarjung, where the maximum temperature was recorded at 44.4 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees above normal. The minimum temperature at 28.2 degrees Celsius was 2 degrees above normal. While most schools in the region are shut for summer vacations, Ghaziabad District Magistrate Indra Vikram Singh ordered all schools up to class 8 in the district to remain shut. The maximum temperature in Ghaziabad on Sunday was 44 degrees Celsius. IMD had issued a red alert in the city on Monday as well as Tuesday due to severe heatwave conditions in the city. The rise in temperature in Delhi has been consistent with Saturday seeing a maximum of 43 degrees Celsius. On Friday, it was recorded 42.5 degrees Celsius. Both the figures are from Safdarjung Observatory. IMD officials said no respite from the heat was expected this week, attributing the rise in temperature to the lack of rain coupled with dry winds. The maximum temperature is expected to be 44 degrees on Monday and 45 degrees on Tuesday. Hot surface winds at speed of 25 to 35 km per hour have been forecast on Monday. IMD also issued a 7-day forecast urging people to ensure extreme care for vulnerable people due to the heat wave. It said there was a very high likelihood of developing heat-related illness and heat stroke in people of all ages and a significant health concern for vulnerable individuals. In 14, the BJP had its Chai Pe Charcha campaign to reach out to ordinary voters. This time, some union ministers are trying to reach out a special category of citizens with the Dinner Pe Charcha initiative. On Sunday, Union Minister Hardeep Singh Puri and MOS Rajiv Chandrasekhar hosted around 250 guests at Puri's residence as a part of BJP's Vishesh Sampark Abhiyan. Among the guests were retired defense services chiefs, retired high court judges, ex-bureaucrats and former diplomats. It is learned that the minister briefed the guests on the work done by the Modi government in the past 10 years and the party's vision for 2047. A farmer, a former serviceman and a taxi operator, all Hindus along with another Muslim farmer, are engrossed in a game of cards in Akoda village along the Mahendragarh-Hisar highway in Haryana, even as Prime Minister Modi, barely 120 km away in Gohana, invokes vote jihad at a rally on Saturday. Amid the surroundings high-octane divisive campaign, the men remain united by their love for cards through each as a reason for his differing political affiliation. Tejpal, the farmer who belongs to the Jat community, says people want to change and claims the Congress Rao Dan Singh is likely to give sitting BJP MP Dharambir Singh Chaudhary a run for his money in this time, despite Tosham MLA Kiran Chaudhary's supporters not enthusiastically working over the denial of a ticket to her daughter and former MP Shruti. Taxi operator Pandit Budram, whose vehicles have been hired by Dan Singh's supporters, is confident about the congressman's victory, and Sadiq Khan, the farmer, echoes his view. Tosham is one of the 9 assembly segments that falls under the Bhiwani Mahendragarh Lok Sabha seat. The BJP holds 5: Loharu, Bhiwani, Ateli, Narnaul and Nangal Chaudhary, while 2 Tosham and Mahendragarh are held by the Congress. The JJP of Dushyant Chautala, which parted away with BJP and has extended support to the Congress, represents Badra, while Dadri is represented by independent MLA Sombir Sangwan, who is now backing the Congress. On the other hand, ex-serviceman Dharambir Jat is vocal in his support for the BJP and cites the Modi factor for his choice. I have served in Siachen, Srinagar, Leh, Nagaland, Sikkim, Palampur and other places. Earlier, every bullet fired was accounted for, but this is not the case now with Modi at the helm. Why should we vote for such a man who has backed the army and has wanted to give the enemy a befitting reply? Former Army Naik asked. Several others are not in favor of the sitting MP but say they will vote for the BJP to ensure a third term for Modi. Meanwhile, Khan disagrees and says the few Muslim families in the village of Bijana never felt uncomfortable earlier, but over the years things have changed. We feel we do not belong here, especially due to the speeches that BJP leaders make, he says. A few kilometers away in Buchawas village, Bablu Singh says, unemployment is a major issue. I have two sons who are educated but not unemployed. National issues are important, but we need to think about our families and children too. Unless we grow with the country and our children are not forced to run a roadside tea stalls, we cannot determine the growth that the BJP leaders are trying to tell us, he says. Despite Chief Minister Naib Singh Saini's claim that his government had ensured the availability of drinking water across the state, the issue continues to plague the Bhiwani Mahendragarh street. The Tosham bypass road presents a familiar picture. A group of men, women and children have queued up and at a hand pump near Shahid Rao Ranbir Singh Marg. There are taps in our homes, but water supply is restricted to 2 to 3 days a week. We are forced to rely on hand pumps for our daily needs, says Vinod Jangra, one of the men in the queue. Duli Chand agrees. Earlier the problem was water in the fields that has been partially solved, but drinking water is still a major issue. Both the BJP and Congress are confident. Dan Singh says the people will correct their mistakes of 14 and 19. The BJP government in Haryana is in crisis and has lost its majority. He says, referring to the switch of 3 independent MLAs, sitting MP Dharamveer says people are aware of that their vote is for Modi. We have to forget our internal differences. Union Home Minister Amit Shah Sunday accused Congress and RJD leaders of not attending the Ram Temple consecration ceremony in Ayodhya due to their Ghuspetia vote bank. What? As West Bengal's Bangaon Lok Sabha seat held by Union Minister Shantanu Thakur votes Monday, local remain confused over CAA, which is no longer a dominant factor in the Bangaon, having a significant refugee population. About 13 lakh people of total 19 lakh voters belong to the Matua community, while BJP claims the CAA has given refugees, especially from Matua community, an identity. The TMC claims those applying for citizenship under the CAA would land up in the detention camp like what happened in Assam. Thakur is contesting again on a BJP ticket in the hopes of retaining the seat and has campaigned heavily on the CAA, highlighting it as a BJP achievement fulfilling a long-standing demand of refugee communities. The CAA has become a reality due to the efforts of Modi government. It has given people dignity and fulfilled their long-standing dream, Thakur had said at a rally. However, since its rules were framed in March, there is a sense of fear among residents in Bangaon in North 24 Pragnas district and especially in Thakur Nagar, where the headquarters of All India Matua Mahasangh, the apex body of Matuas, is located. Priya Bakta 30, who runs a shop opposite to Thakur Bari in this headquarters, said none of her family members have applied for citizenship. There is no talk about the CAA in our households. We no longer have any interest. No one party asks us to appeal for citizenship while another party wants us not to do so. We are confused, Bhakta said. Several others interacted and shared similar opinions on the CAA. With voting in fifth phase on Monday, the focus is on the 14 constituencies in the crucial battleground of UP. There are 144 candidates in the fray, including bigwigs such as Union Minister Smriti Irani and Rajnath Singh and Congress leader Rahul Gandhi. Faizabad, which shot into the limelight after the Ram Temple consecration as Ayodhya falls under it, will also go to the polls and will see BJP's Lalu Singh attempt to retain the constituency for a third straight term. A story of J&K and POK. If you stand back and view the contrast emerging from the post-election scenario in Pakistan and the ongoing electoral exercise in India, it proves helpful in drawing conclusions. More so if you leave aside everything else and just focus on Pakistan occupied Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir, where the first of the 5 phases of the general election ended a few days ago. The 38% turnout of the Srinagar electorate was a definite surge from a abysmal 14% in 1996. It was 41%, pointing to the downward spiral of terrorist and separatist violence after the initial spurt in the 89-90. In fact, the graph of foreign terrorists from Afghanistan has reached a low that year before rising sharply because of the presence of terrorists mainly from Pakistan. The Srinagar constituency comprises many of the known badlands of Budgam, Pulwama and Shopia, where radical influence prevented electoral participation. From grenade blasts to the kidnapping of political workers, all kinds of deterrents were used to stop people from voting. This was particularly true for the parliamentary polls. In the case of assembly elections, panchayat and municipal polls, the reluctance to vote was very much lower given its association with local issues and development. From 2008 onwards, however, it was in these very years that stone throwing became a popular pastime. Separatist sentiments brought hoarders onto the streets to express their pushback against India. There is a sea change now with tourism, the inflow of investment funds, rising youth aspirations, and not even a single call from a Bandh. In the 5 years since the amendment of Article 370, a whole new chapter has begun in J&K. Can it be sustained? Hopefully, the Srinagar narrative will play out in the other constituencies too, with Uri, Tangdhar, Machil, and other areas which have traditionally been pro-India and returned figures of 70% and more turnout in the past. Kashmir may well an average of 50% voter turnout for the first time in years. There has been no threat of violence or intimidation either, with Jammu expectedly bringing in good figures. Democracy would be winner, cementing a progress begun long ago but given shape, substance, leadership and police from August 5, 19 onwards. Not everyone will agree with the deductions that good voting figures signal support for India. However, by not fielding its candidates in the Valley constituencies, the BJP in many ways has also signaled its willingness to work with some or all the other parties, expressing a level of trust in them. The real test will of course be the assembly polls, which could take place before the end of the September. That said, I can hardly recall an incident-free parliamentary election in Valley before this. Poll time was one occasion where certain elements used to have a field day targeting booths and people. The army would invariably be chasing terrorists in South Kashmir. All this did not occur this time as the people exercise their franchise. That is the element of change. Although one interpretation continues to harp on the nation that a large turnout is actually a pushback, it signifies the vote against abrogation, but it is not in keeping with local strategy exercised in the past. Consistent, coordinated evolution and essentials of India's climate policy. In 1990s were a time of great change in India and the world, which led to the forging of new policies in many areas, including on the environment. The Rio Summit of 1992 saw the emergence of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Convention on Biological Diversity and Forest Principles. After Rio, the Division of Climate Change and Biodiversity in India's then Ministry of Environment and Forests came to life slowly and steadily. Climate change is a result of excessive, unsustainable production and consumption patterns of the developed countries. A recent study urges that between 1970 and 2017, developed countries with only 16% of the world population use 74% of excess resources over their fair share. In the same period, 58 countries, including India, representing 3.6 billion people, stayed within their sustainability limits. Amid this stark contrast, what is India's climate policy? 5 major determinants of India's climate policy. India's climate policy is based on 5 major determinants: geography, population, impact, worldview and actions. The Indian landmass has an area of 3.28 million square kilometers, accounting for 2.4% of world's geographical land surface area and 4% of the world's freshwater resources. India is the world's 7th largest country. It is one of the 17 mega biodiverse countries, having 4 biodiversity hotspots, 10 biogeographic zones, and 22 agro-biodiversity hotspots. India experienced 6 different seasons, and its civilization and the economy have developed in harmony with this seasonal cycle. In recent decades, climate change has disrupted this harmony by blurring the distinction between seasons, which has led to increased unpredictability and negative consequences of nature and society. India's 1.4 billion people account for almost one-sixth of humanity. It's home to 7 to 8% of the recorded species of the world. The human to land ratio is very low in India of 0.0021 square kilometer, and to survive with this limitation, we need understanding and integrated management of land water. The Global Climate Risk Index 20 puts India as the 5th most affected country by extreme weather events. A 2018 World Bank report predicted that rising temperature and changing monsoon rainfall patterns could cost India 2.8% of the gross domestic product. India's worldview is shaped by that of its ancestors of living in harmony and consonance with nature. Gandhi's ideals of trustship and the ability of the earth to provide enough for everyone's need and not anyone's greed represents a continuous strain of thought since time immemorial. India's actions are shaped by science based on evidence. Despite having historical cumulative emissions of less than 4% and 1.9 ton of carbon dioxide per capita emissions, India has taken strong climate actions. This is unlike developed countries which show enthusiasm for climate action for everyone but themselves. India's climate policy is informed by inclusive growth for all-round economic and social development, eradication of poverty, declining carbon budget, adherence of UNFCCC's foundational principles, and climate-friendly lifestyle. Its climate policy has been clear, consistent, and coordinated. India has been clear that climate change is the result of over-exploitation of natural resources by developed countries. The country has been a strong voice of the global south and the main force behind the common but a differentiated responsibility and respective capability principle. Sunrisers put chasing demons to bed. Throughout their campaigns, Sunrisers Hyderabad has looked like a near perfect team, batting first but have been often crumbled chasing totals. The hunt for 215 started in similar fashion when Arshdeep Singh bowled a pitch of a delivery to get rid of Travis Head. Abhishek Sharma tugged into Punjab bowlers. Abhishek, with his sublime bat swing, slammed 6 sixes, taking its tally of 41 sixes for the season, the most thus far. Punjab tried to restrict the partnership with slower ones, but it did not work. By the time Harshal Patel got Tripathi and damage had already been done. In between overs, Nitish Reddy's swing made contact with the ball. It went flying into the stands. The young all-rounder found an excellent blend between attack and defence, which made sure SRH maintained the momentum even after the power play. Royal Challengers Bengaluru pulled a rabbit out of the hat on Saturday by sneaking into the IPL playoffs with a 27-run victory over the Chennai Super Kings at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. And in a strange way, RCB veteran Dinesh Karthik believes that Mahendra Singh Dhoni had a role to play in RCB securing playoff spot. The best thing to happen today was Dhoni hitting that six outside the ground, Karthik told his RCB teammates in a fun debrief after the RCB vs CSK game. Dinesh Karthik was in fact referring to Dhoni hitting the first ball of the Yash Dayal's 20th over for a massive 110-meter six. As it turned out, it was a sixer that inadvertently turned around the ship for RCB. CSK needed to get just 17 runs of the last over, which was bowled by Dayal. If they had managed that, CSK would have made it to the playoffs even with a loss against RCB. The first ball from Dayal went perfectly as per CSK's plan. Dhoni, who was gifted a full toss on his pads, sent the ball into orbit. The ball travelled 110 meters as per the broadcasters and eventually landed on the roof. But the enormity of the hit led to the ball being changed. Karthik explains how the six had helped them. We got a new ball which was much better to bowl with. Karthik also gently ripped Dayal for bowling a juicy full toss to Dhoni in the first place. Yes, that was good bowling. You have a doubt? Always bowl a high, hip high, full toss and a leg stump wherever he is. It's a good mantra to follow when the ball is wet. He smiled. After the ball was changed, Dayal got Dhoni out on the next ball itself with a back of the hand slower ball, which caught Dhoni guard and the outer bat, and the batter ended by edging the ball with the toe, and Saupnil Singh accepted the catch at deep backward square leg.